All right, ladies and gentlemen, General Greene here. God bless you all. It is an honor to serve. July 17th, 2025. Not sure if you were notified of this video, so it's very important that you like and share it and leave an immediate comment. It's the biggest action you could take today is leaving a comment and or liking, because again, I don't think they want this information out to the American public during this critical dollar collapse and cyber money reset. I'm going to break the hard-hitting and in-your-face news that a massive cyber event is imminent, and this is the collapse of the empire into digital currencies worldwide. So again, please help me out. Leave a comment, like, and share across your social media platforms, because this is an emergency. This is urgent, especially with cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, as predicted, breaking new all-time records. Panic and pandemonium hitting the American middle class, and Wall Street realizing that all of their wealth is being transferred in a massive transitional crisis into the reset. Again, there's political chaos, massive attacks on Donald Trump, Alex Jones, turncoat Tucker Carlson. Although I like these people, but they've really shown their colors recently. And Mike Pence, the former vice president traitor to the president, are actually all on the same team, ruffling feathers on the ground, along with Elon Musk, attacking Donald Trump on a daily basis, calling him out, really creating just chaos among MAGA and the political system. So keep in mind, there's all that going on in the backdrop. Donald Trump is waging war against the deep state. What's really interesting about that, all these turncoats turning on Donald Trump, and it's okay to ask questions, of course, ask questions about the list, think critically through that. That's amazing. But keep in mind, all of these people voted Donald Trump in, supported him, and then in addition to that, funded him for a very specific reason, because they elected a president, the commander-in-chief, thank you, Austin, to make very important decisions of information that was classified that they know nothing about. So to elect a guy like Donald Trump, who they trusted and had put their faith in, only to call him out and defect once he's making decisions at a high level with information he only has access to that's classified, that they don't possess, shows me that maybe they weren't on his team after all the entire time. Maybe they had more Machiavellian plans in store. But that's not the topic of today's video. I just wanted to mention it because I'm really apolitical. I believe in freedom, liberty, making you rich, individual sovereignty, and autonomy. So I don't keep or really want your head in politics too much. I just want you free. Free from slavery, free from debt. That's why we don't have any bank debt here at Island Project. Living your best life. I want you strong. I want you healthy. I want you amazing, serving the Lord. I want you reading the Bible every single day. I want you bearing really great fruit. Not to get caught up in all these politics or the latest reality television cortisol release roughhousing that's going on in the media sphere. Because again, I don't think that that's important. That's really just entertainment. So I just wanted to throw that out there because that is happening now. But the real story, as we've been discussing now for multiple decades, is that as a result of new technology inventions like this and Bitcoin, DeFi and blockchain, and of course the advent of not just the internet, social media, but distributed technologies and the amplification of now like perpetual bandwidth increases, that the result of that would be that the dying predatory nation states that had enslaved their populations for centuries would no longer exist. Now, we think about this from the perspective of the British Empire. Please like and share, which you should ask critical questions about. For example, Did the U.S. Patriots really declare 1776 and break free from the most powerful navy and arguable military at the time, the British Empire? Or did it just transition from the British flag to a new one? These are important questions to actually think about. It's funny, I was watching a documentary last night. I was kind of bored. I've been reading a lot, so I just kind of wanted to zone out. But I'm like, if I'm going to watch something on TV, at least let's watch something educational to see what the media, the CIA and Hollywood's going to say about it. So I watched a show, episode 1. It's G-rated. Austin's sitting there next to me. I'm like, okay, let's learn about American history. And we watched a episode of Sons of Liberty. Well, we're sitting there, my other kind of sons peering in, other kids are kind of tuning in, and after we were done, one of them said, "Daddy, is that real?" And I was like, thinking to myself, going to give the initial nationalistic response, but then I thought a little bit longer, and in my head, the seed of the reply was, I don't know, to be honest with you. Sure doesn't seem like it. So I'm going to throw out some questions today because I'm going to also tell you about this cyber event that's coming, how to prepare for it. I have intel on that. The only person in the world, by the way, because God told me, just like everything else. That's my source, God. So I'll reveal that and how to prepare and prosper, actually, from that, profit from it, and get ahead of it, ahead of the masses. But I also want you to think critically and give a little lesson to the thought of America in general. I have some rocks being delivered on my property today, so if you hear some loud noises, it's not chairs in the pool yet. It's rocks. But I want you to think about how America was founded, and if that story really is the story that they tell us in our children's history books, in the modern day institutions that make up the slave schools. For example, most of all the founding fathers were Freemasons, very high up, of the highest level. They designed Washington, D.C. in the image of a pentagram, and also outright obvious Masonic symbology and imagery. From the obelisk, which echoes a lot of similarities to ancient Egypt, to even the stones George Washington laid at the Capitol in full Masonic 33-degree Mason garb. This is all 100% truth and accurate. To how the buildings are positioned in Masonic form and layout. You've got the Capitol, if I remember correctly, the White House. Just next to it is the Lincoln Memorial, Thomas Jefferson Memorial, and everything's kind of spread out that way in a very specific way with tunnels and, kind of this underground of Washington, D.C. The list goes on and on. So I'm just going to point out some things today. One of them is taxation. The Patriots revolted 1776 over a real tax rate of just 1% to 2%. Just 1% to 2%. I was tweeting this earlier because I just wanted people to think critically about it for a moment. But think about that, how that's nuts, that the American Patriots literally revolted with these over the king, over 1% to 2% taxation. They said no taxation without representation, which meant they didn't have anybody to represent them in Britain. There was no one there to represent them. They didn't have any voice. And there was things like the Townsend Act and the Stamp Act and other taxes, which really just culminated to like 1% to 2%, nothing. Compare that to today, because again, this ties in. Did we ever really leave Great Britain? Because allegedly we fought the revolution and the redcoats, right, to avoid massive taxation without representation. 1% to 2% tax seemed extreme to the American patriots that were enslaved by the king, that was enforcing the tyranny on the 13 decentralized distributed colonies, right? So they revolted, threw tea in the ocean and picked up their you-know-whats and won. Well, today, the average American spends about 30 to 50% of their income annually on taxation. If they're not smart and they're not like Trump, who says you're an idiot if you pay taxes. That's what he said, not what I said. 30 to 50% comparatively to 1 to 2%. Now, also, when the country was founded, there was no income tax because, again, all the patriots, that's why they fought. They were against it. And the income tax didn't come and debut itself until the Civil War, which was one of the reasons why, again, that was being fought at the time, because the North was actually imposing on the South and their production and their wealth and infringing on their sovereignty. It wasn't just about the other topic, which was a significant topic, but they always focus on that and not the other things. Again, what did the North do after they won the war? They enslaved everyone back into factories in the North, paid them nothing, and kept them dirt poor. So it wasn't about that issue. The North actually did the same thing. And the reason the North won was because of the railroad, arguably, and being able to move munitions and supplies, which the South could not compete with. So when the revolutionaries were building up into 1776 and the Boston Massacre and other events leading up to it, there was a period of about almost 10 years, 8 or 10 years, where the anger was building and the American people at the colonies and Bostonians were getting really pissed off. And there was clashes and rabble-rousing constantly going on among the forces and a lot of instability on the ground before, boom, 1776. Now, right after the American Revolution, the new United States government, made up of mostly Freemasons, I just want you to think critically about this, immediately re-sewed their ties to banking with the British Empire. So right after they fought the Redcoats, right after we won, they immediately increased and re-sewed their ties to the banking infrastructure of Great Britain itself for trade and commerce and finance, something they said that they were getting away from. Another interesting fact is the loyalists to the king, mostly at least, none of their land, assets, money, or resources were actually redistributed to the American patriots. In fact, there was really no consequences for a lot of those individuals. A lot of them stayed and or they quietly left back to Britain or Canada and places like that. None of the wealth was redistributed back to the American people at all. Very interesting. Another interesting fact is that the American patriots, in the lead up, as they were fighting this aggressive taxation, actually minted their own coinage that only the other patriots and revolutionaries knew was a sign. That sign was, "We're the resistance." They also painted on their ships the letter T, which historians believe stood for taxation or tyranny. It could even refer to the tea event, throwing the tea in the water, which was another sign of hegemony, of unity among the revolutionaries. Notice they actually had to take control of their own currency for free trade, hidden in the underground of the empire to thrive. Otherwise, they were in poverty, they were beggars, they barely had bread, and they're just hanging out with Samuel Adams throwing back beers. And people like Benjamin Franklin, et cetera, were known womanizers and huge alcoholics. Those are just actual facts. So the point that I'm making here is there's a lot of similarities to what was happening then to what is going on now, right? And what is happening right now in the cyber world. And I'm going to talk about the cyber event too coming, which is why you're here. So there's a historical argument that the Americans really didn't win, but that special sweetheart deals were actually cut you've never even heard about with the king. I mean, the king had the most powerful military and navy in the world. If he wanted to spend more money, he could have arguably easily suppressed the resistance. But they were also fighting other egregious wars in places like, I think it was France and Spain at the time. It was growing unpopular amongst the higher ups and the higher class in Great Britain for the colonies. And there was just so much roughhousing, they didn't really care about it anymore. And so the king actually found it much more beneficial to instead of try to continue their overt form of slavery and control, but to show appearances as if the resistance had actually won, and then subsequently immediately reestablishing trade, reestablishing the banking infrastructure, of which your founding fathers actually did set up a very similar American bank, very similar to the same banking infrastructure that was in Great Britain that we were supposedly fighting against. So all these similarities, all these questions, and a lot of these questions are very obvious. I mean, if you're a thinking person, I was watching that show, but even as a kid, when I'm hearing this stuff, it sounds really good on paper, but you're kind of sitting there going, this sounds like propaganda. Like, there's truth to it, but there's a whole nother story they've never told. And so essentially what happened is, in my view at least, is that although the American Revolution was extremely real in terms of its proclivities and the resistance itself and, those events that we know about, they're not really giving all the detail to it, because all empires, when they rise and fall, transfer hands to different elites' hands. For example, most of the leaders of the American Revolution and the higher-ups, all Freemasons like George Washington, etc., also garnered tremendous wealth after the victory. And the argument, again, for you to think about today and maybe even study is the same point that I brought up initially in the very beginning of this video, which I could talk a long time about this subject matter because I love history, is that did we really become a new country, or did it just change color with a new flag? See, I think something similar is happening now, which is why I'm talking about this. Something very similar and eerie is happening now with all of this. The digital reset, the cyber event that I'm going to talk about, Bitcoin, crypto, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, the new city-states being created, the stablecoin acts, the Genius Act, etc. And by the way, this is not new news to me. I'm just explaining to the American public what's going on. And so really what's happening is under the guise of a revolutionary event, right, that was hated and attacked, and just like the redcoats were attacking the revolutionaries that were trying for free trade and issuing their own coinage, etc., to get ahead, and there was all that angst and infighting, just like what we saw with Bitcoin over the last several decades. The state said it was a scam, that they're going to ban it. I mean, even Elizabeth Warren, who hates crypto freedom and sovereignty, said, well, if Donald Trump fires Jerome Powell, the stock market's going to crash. I responded, good. We want the state to fail. Again, the state serves the American people, not building buildings for $2 billion to polish up the Federal Reserve's doors, which is what Jerome Powell's actually doing, and he's been taking a lot of heat for it. My point is the empire is finished as a result of a number of competing factors that assures destruction of the old system, state predation on the American citizen and other states. I'm not even just talking about America. I'm talking about all empire states that issue taxable, inflationary currencies that they expense to the American people. Let me give you an example. If you do basic math, which I encourage you to do, and I'll read you this post because it's just extraordinary to think about, that real taxation was just 1% to 2% pre-Revolution 1776. Most Americans pay 30 to 50% of their income to the state now. The marginal tax rate hit as high as like 80, 90% during World War II, for those of you that don't know. And again, the income tax did not exist until the Civil War. Well, now we've got all kinds of tax, income tax, real estate taxes, death taxes, estate taxes, purchasing taxes, levy taxes, tariff taxes. Again, there's a reason why Donald Trump has pushed so aggressively for these tariffs, because the empire states worldwide are collapsing, which we can talk about. But listen to this. For example, for every $5,000 in taxes you pay annually each year, It is the equivalent of 586,950 US dollars, grown tax-free, compounded over the next 50 years at a 10% rate of return. Listen to that again. For every $5,000 you pay to a state empire anywhere in the world today, just like the Patriots fought a revolution against the empire, for every 5K, that's the equivalent of $586,950 stolen from you and your family, your children and grandchildren, over a period of 50 years, just a 10% compound rate of return. Not much. You know, most financial advisors say, try to get 5%, but actually getting 10% is not very hard to do. Most astute investors, if you're invested in diversified in real estate, stocks, et cetera, index funds, you're gonna do 10% on average, even if you have some down years. You're gonna have some big up years. It's gonna average out. Now, over the average American lifespan, which is 78.4 years, that same number skyrockets to roughly $8.8 million. That's the power of compounding and math. Why Einstein said it was the greatest discovery of all time. Compound interest. 8.8 million. So let me ask you a question. Who do you think manages and distributes resources more effectively? You or the state? And I'm not picking on America. I'm talking about in general. All the big states, all the big countries. Who would distribute resources more effectively? You or the state? And this is a very basic question, and there's a very easy answer. Because if I was a man on the street and asked just about everyone, we know how they're going to respond to this. Would you rather have $8.8 million in your bank account to leave your kids at your death, at the end of your average lifespan, or just about, 1 to 2K a month in Social Security checks from the state until you die, and then you don't get paid anymore? Your options are 8.8 million in compounding rates of return at just 10% for the average lifespan that you could leave to your kids tax-free, versus $5,000 you give to the state that maybe over time, as you're paying through all that, you'll get, 1 to 2K of measly peasantry, body, universal basic income from Elon Musk's new, smart app that he comes out through X, which he's registered as a financial corporation now because he's going to distribute the UBI. Very easy to understand, right? Now, again, I'm not picking on the state. In fact, it's arguable that was a necessary progression because with the lack of technology like we have today, Bitcoin, distribution of technology, decentralization, DeFi, deflationary currency sets like Bitcoin, the Island Project, the ability to borrow and lend from decentralized platforms, like you've probably heard of some of these before, like Uniswap or 1inch or MetaMask, which aggregates decentralized in decentralized fashion for pricing and then just makes micro fees. It was arguable that the state was justified in some of that for a period of time because, again, the state's rise was to build an empire that was aggressive, large, and then protected the American people militarily from the other states, and then came with some social welfare programs, etc. That's all changed. That paradigm collapsed at about the inception, but before Bitcoin was actually invented by Satoshi. One question a lot of people ask me, and a lot of people have asked through the years, and one reason why a lot of people, I think, have not bought Bitcoin until now, is they would ask things like, well, what is Bitcoin backed by? Right? It's a logical question that you should all ask. And a lot of people have said, well, if it was backed by gold, then I would actually, think differently about it. So here's a question for you, and I'm going to give you what the answer is. But is Bitcoin backed by gold? No, it's not. But you know what the equivalent gold reserve it is backed by? Satoshi's wallet. Satoshi's wallet, and I'm not certain the current number. I'd have to look it up, maybe ChatGPT for me real quick and leave a comment here. But Satoshi's wallet is the largest wallet, and he's now one of the wealthiest people or consortiums or governments, sources or groups of people or entities or Silicon Valley in the world. And the fact that his wallet doesn't move, right? It hasn't moved. It's stationary. Not to mention and fixed all of the lost Bitcoin over the years, or people that lost their keys, or, lost access to it, or even people when they perish, maybe they just let it die with them, is actually the store of value in the equivalent Fort Knox. Here's the reason why Satoshi didn't link it directly to gold, because if he did, or the group or the consortium did, it would be obvious who the group or consortium was. And then the states, all states, through their predation, their practices, preying on its citizens, would find Satoshi. So there's another reason for that as well. So that's an important factor. And to me, that has always been the gold reserve of the actual Bitcoin blockchain itself. Here's another extrapolating thought, which is completely very entertaining and interesting. There might come a point where Satoshi and whoever controls those wallets, if they're still alive, which I believe they are, because I believe it's a consortium, could actually, through various products, new inventions that don't exist yet, and or DeFi, it's just a thought, it's a critical thought, may in fact be able to borrow from that largest wallet, securitize it into other assets like physical gold, without anyone actually knowing. So I want you to think about if it was the government that, say, started Bitcoin. These are just critical thoughts. There is the possibility that the government, without showing it on chain, could borrow from the largest wallet itself into other assets like gold or other currencies, etc. So where we are in the historical context of where we sit today, we're giving kind of like a history lesson here, is a very similar moment to the pre-revolutionary act of war against Britain, where national currencies that are highly inflationary and built on debt, like Elon Musk says, can't be paid back, right? The debt's not going to be paid. That's why he's pissed. And the national currencies that are worth nothing, and its monopolistic monopoly of force on its citizenry, because it only controls the printing presses, and the power of the purse. No longer did monks have to scribe currency or coinage, which they did, which took long times to do and was tough to distribute and to inflate. When the printing press was invented, not only did it get information out to the world, but it got currency, national currencies. And so your government learned that they could inflict massive taxation and what I would argue damage on the American people, not just America, but all the big states and all the national currencies worldwide, that the state empires could inflict a silent tax on all of you that would benefit the state, and essentially was their fee for, and even from their perspective, the argument that they have a currency that, even though it's not stable, allows you to store some kind of value in it. So the state might justify, well, we deserve to get paid for that. And so they use inflation to do it. Here's the problem the empire has now. As a result of the aggressive new inventions, technologies, AI, blockchain, Bitcoin, island project, microeconomies, microtransaction, on-chain, off-chain transactions, DEX aggregators, DeFi, new lending mechanisms, etc., which is all an advent. You hear all the acronyms, but you need to study what they actually are and what they do. The states no longer have control over the power of the purse and their monopoly on the ability to print. That poses a dramatic, almost psychotic level of anxiety from those that are in power, the kings today, where they now have to figure out a way how to continue their monopoly of force. Otherwise, their empires collapse. okay? So I'm going to get to the cyber event because it's important that we cover that. But it's leading up. I'm leading the horse to water here, all of us, myself included, for a very specific intellectual reason. IslandProject.com. By the way, this is not new news to me. I've known this for years, and this information is not hidden. If you read and you study, you would have figured this out when I did 15, 20 years ago. I was already thinking about cyber money before Bitcoin existed as a banker, because I was working on Wall Street going, this is stupid. Like, we've got the internet. I'm hanging out in this bank with all these bricks all around. There's all these tellers everywhere. We don't need all these people. Can't we just have like computers talk to each other and cut all the crap and cut all the costs? And why are there hours of the day? Well, how come I can only come in and trade stocks from 9 to 5? This is stupid. We've got the internet. So I understood this a long time ago, and a lot of you did too. It's not just me. So this is not new news. So here's the point. Now that there is freedom through technology for you to make a choice to exit hyperinflationary debt-based currencies that produce nothing real, aren't linked to anything real, and offer no value, but arguable extortion, taxation, and predation by states everywhere. Now that you have another option to place your money in an asset that only appreciates, creates income, that doesn't have any bank debt, and also provides real-world access and use, the growing majority and tidal wave of not just Americans, but all citizens worldwide start to make different choices. Just like the founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, Benjamin Franklin, Paul Revere, Sam Adams. The list goes on because a new option is suddenly available. Again, the colonists learned, man, if we just have our own currency, we're going to get wealthy like the king over there. And without their aggressive predation and taxation, we might actually have estates too, and maid service and yachts everywhere and own land and real stuff. So I want you to understand the colonists went through the same psychological process before, boom, the firing shot hit, which is what it led up to. We're in that pre-revolutionary stage now. And the states, here's the cool thing about it. The states can't stop it, no matter what they do. They can't. It's impossible for them to stop the transition. The only thing they can do is integrate into it. And I'm going to even go over into some things that they actually might do as a result. See, the state now, empires, actually now have to compete with these new ideas and technologies that actually make you money. See, if you hold dollars, you're down, 10.7% through June. You've lost 10% of your money, 11%. You're down 13% compared to the other dirty currency, the euro. So they no longer have a monopoly because people can be like, well, I don't know, I'm just going to buy Island Project and get rich, or I'm going to just buy Bitcoin because Bitcoin is outperforming the US stock market, all major hedge funds, every single year in perpetuity. That's just a fact. Why wouldn't I buy it? You also have to understand Bitcoin isn't rising. It's just the US dollar is dying. Bitcoin is deflationary. The dollar is inflationary. So the amount of Bitcoin it takes is less and less to buy multi-million-dollar real estate. But the amount it takes through fiat or national currencies like the fiat trash not backed or linked to gold or silver dollars keeps going up, increasing its unaffordability if you're in national currencies and fiat. It's a very important point. So now that Americans and citizens around the world have a choice, state empires have a very severe risk and problem ahead of them. A massive, massive problem. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to do everything that you're currently seeing. 1, integrate with it and co-opt it. 2, it's major financial players like BlackRock that deal in the fiat trash. They're going to start taking over the market, issuing ETFs, and then control and silo as much of the Bitcoin as they possibly can. Not give you the real Bitcoin, not give you a real property like we do here at Island Project, give you a fake one. Give you a note, give you an IOU, just like a stock. It's a note It's an IOU. You don't really own anything. It's just a promise. Like, hey, we hope our promises hold up. When you buy this, you own physical property, hard asset. You can touch it, see it, visit it, sleep in it, get a suntan in it, enjoy it. Property values go up. You can see it. This is a stark difference. Okay, even Bitcoin is more digital in scope than physical hard assets. So the governments are moving in. Now, Donald Trump knows this as well, which is why he's implemented the tariffs. The tariffs are a temporary way. There was also tariffs during the pre-revolutionary moments throughout history in America at the 13 colonies, are a way for the state. Donald Trump's trying to make the country money because he knows that America is insolvent and is moving into a downward trajectory and is literally the empire's collapsing. So he's got to do something. Trump's smart, so that's why he's got the tariffs out on all these other countries. He's trying to collect revenues. He's trying to protect the United States of America. He's also doing things like establishing a Bitcoin crypto reserve because he knows we need some kind of gold standard. The other thing that governments might do, and every government will react differently. See how we saw El Salvador, for example, quickly integrate, start buying, and solidify Bitcoin as a tradable, recognized currency in its country. It was like a first mover, where the other countries are slow to follow. But now we see other countries doing the same thing. So not every country is going to react the same. Not every country is going to do the same thing. Some countries may actually, in fact, because now they have competition for the first time in their history in hundreds of years, may begin and start linking their national currencies to gold and or precious metals to silver to give, again, their customer. You're a customer. You're not a slave. This is what you need to understand. A citizen means like you're a slave. Like I'm owned by the king. No. You're a customer. Imagine walking into a Rolex shop or a G-Shock watch. This is a G-Shock shop. And you walk in and you're like, hey, my name's Bob. I'm looking for a watch. I would like to buy a watch today. And the sales managers, they're like, well, I don't know, Bob. I don't know if you're deserving of this watch. I'm actually not sure if we should sell this watch to Bob. And they're talking about it with the other sales managers. And then they're like, can we see your resume for the watch? We don't want to give it to you. We know you got the money, but I don't know if you're qualified to buy this watch. Imagine if you as a customer went into a shop like that, you would quickly tell the people to F off. And then you would go to the next shop to the other guy who's a direct competitor and get the watch that you actually want. You'd pay your $50 and get the G-Shock. It's a good watch, too, by the way. I like this watch, solar watch. And you would do that. Well, not in the case with this monopoly of force and power that states have possessed all these years until now, which is my critical point. You weren't a customer at all. You were literally just a slave, being whipped, being flagellated. Okay? So it's not like slavery ever went away. Until now. Here's the difference. You're a customer. So the governments worldwide, all of them, not just America, now suddenly have to compete for all of our businesses. For our money, for our investments, and even politics itself is a lot less influential than it ever be. I mean, politics might even kind of die out. Honestly, the more wealthy you become in crypto and Bitcoin and real assets like the Island Project, the less you actually think about politics because you don't need politics. You're your own politics. If you control your own money supply, your own investments, everything is autonomous, online, distributed in interconnected networks from around the world that are stateless, you start thinking different. You start thinking like a sovereign man or woman and a sovereign individual. So there's this whole war right now with the states trying to hold on the control of the monopoly they once had by force and power. And now that they've been exposed as rotten, bankrupt, criminal, entities like this Federal Reserve, in many people's opinion, those of you tuning in and many others, they've got a problem and an issue that they've got to address. Which leads me to the cyber event. Kind of long-winded. Because I'm going to tell you what happens next that no one else in the world will tell you. And I'm also going to tell you for signs to look for as you're pivoting, leveraging, and profiting for you and your families and making a ton of money, as we've all been making. Again, it's not that we're making money, it's just the dollar's dying. You understand that? So if I look at my Bitcoin portfolio, it's not that I'm getting richer, it's just the state and the dollar's dead. Do you understand? And politics is dying. So when our crypto's going up and our real estate's going up, it's not that it's actually like that the value, like it's hyperinflating. The dollar's dead. Do you understand? The dollars are dying, so all the real stuff keeps soaring, and Bitcoin keeps soaring against it. There's going to be a saturation point at some point. I don't know what the number is going to be. But at some point, after all the supply is issued, and 90+% of it already has in Bitcoin, if you look at its, actuary tables, its distribution tables out to the market, which most of it's already been released, Bitcoin at some point will settle and be a lot less volatile and more fixed. It'll be at like 13 million or something, like Michael Saylor says. It'll just stay there, right? Because all of the deflationary and the mining, most of it had already been done. And the dollars and all fiat national currencies will have completely dissolved. And governments will have reinvented themselves, merged, married, co-opted into the movement, and or even attempted to nationalize their currencies through gold linkages again, or silver linkages, or commodities or something, or Bitcoin or whatever it is, so that it can at least compete to some degree with their new CBDCs and stable coins, which they're doing all this now. So you got to be thinking bigger. So many people are just focused on the money, the money. Again, that's awesome. You're going to get rich. You are rich. You're getting rich. If you take my advice, you're freaking rich. That's freaking amazing. I mean, let's look at crypto right now. Again, rich. I mean, Ethereum's breaking out to new all-time highs. XRP is about to break to new all-time highs. The list goes on and on. Reserve rights, the new reserve standard, RSR, soon to break to new all-time highs. It'll be sitting at 100 billion minimum very soon, and then it's going to go much higher. It's $1 trillion asset. Right? Cool. Awesome. Rich. Okay, we all know that. But again, that's low-level thinking. Okay, I want you guys thinking about the future. It's why we designed this. It's why I put the majority of my wealth here. It's why my members own this. Okay? Just like when I was buying and investing in Bitcoin under 1,000, I wasn't, that was a discovery that was 10 years ahead of most people. Well, now we're 10 years ahead of the majority again. All glory to God for understanding these things and having these visions and also having his blessing, because we couldn't do it without him. Everything's in God's realm. You just put in the work and work hard and be optimistic and then let him do the rest. Okay, so it's all on his terms. So never we never want to think it's not us, it's God, it's the kingdom, and we're the servants, they're tools. Just like Noah was provided the gopher wood to build the Noah's Ark. We're provided the Bitcoins to make you a billionaire. That's what it is. It's no different, okay? So just understand that. So this leads to the next major event that they've already prepped you for, which is going to be the cyber event. And I'm going to explain how it'll be an inside job, what they'll do, and how they're going to roll it out, and how to pivot, leverage, protect yourself. But more importantly, not just play defense, make a ton of money while it happens, like you're doing with RSR. You should be buying more, by the way. A lot of people ask me, should I buy here? Yeah, buy as much as you can. Not financial advice, but I'm buying more. I mean, why wouldn't I buy more? I know this thing's going to $1 trillion. So, of course I'm buying more. I mean, just like this is a sure thing. Like, buy as much as you can, like get into it. And by the way, this is the safest investment right here. You can't lose because there's no bank debt. There's going to be a debt crisis soon too. We'll talk about that. So what's the cyber event going to be? You heard it here first. I almost tweeted it yesterday, but then I didn't. There's going to be some kind of cyber event. It'll be during a bull market. Could be during this one. Could be the next one as things play out for a while. And it'll be at a peak. Like a peak of Bitcoin breaking new all-time freaking amazing highs, pandemonium, CNBC, whoop, everyone, yay! Bitcoin, 250K, 300K, 500,000, whatever the number is, yay! It's going to be one big party, like 1999, like the .com, stock stuff too. Then the deep state's going to pull the plug. Boop! It's going to go straight down the tub. And here's how they're going to do it. All of these stable coins through the Genius Act, which the government controls through state centralization and power, implicitly through the private companies like Goldman Sachs and Circle, et cetera, that own and mint the USDC that allegedly is backed to the dollar, although how do we know that? I mean, how do we actually know the proof of reserves? Like, we don't know the actual proof of the reserves of the gold at Fort Knox. Do we really know the proof of reserves of BlackRock? No, of course not. So here's what they're gonna do. Those companies that the US government controls, because they're, BlackRock's basically like a CIA hedge fund. It's in InQtel, essentially. We'll look that one up too. At some point, they're gonna pull the plug, just like they planted Sam Bankman-Fried, who I always told you to stay away from, never recommended him, never recommended his exchange. I won't even mention it. I never even freaking mentioned it. I always told you it was a CIA deep state plant set up to do what? Fostering a crisis for government regulation. One way the governments will predate itself on this industry, and they're in process of it now, is to create a stable coin depeg crisis at some point. It will either affect something like Tether, could be USDC, although I view that as the safest, but very well could be that, or one of the other stable coin technologies that will unravel in a deleveraging event and depeg. Now, it's important to understand that it's the government that'll do it. It won't be random. It won't be an accident. It's the government pulling the plug. I mean, they're smiling behind the scenes while they do it. And it's going to create a financial panic in the blockchain crypto space. Elizabeth Warren will be screaming, ah! Smoke's going to be, this is why I told you Bitcoin was the, she's going to be freaking out. It's going to be funny in a lot of ways. There's going to be all the I told you so's, but just understand it's an operation. The CIA and the deep state's going to do it. Why? Never let a good crisis go to waste. That will create and stoke more fear around the technology they don't have a monopoly around that will convince the American public, in a lot of respects at least, not going to be able to do everything, for the government to interfere by force even more into the marketplace. Now, they can only do so much because, again, they can't really fight this technology, but they can attempt to co-opt it and try to control the markets as much as possible. Again, the more aggressively BlackRock keeps buying Bitcoin, which it's buying more every day, every single week, along with Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy, and I don't even really trust that really too much, to be honest. I don't know, something's wrong with that. Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy, I don't know, dude. Smart guy, but I honestly, my gut, deep state. I don't trust that either. I really don't. I think he's planted there somehow. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Pops out of nowhere. For example, I couldn't just roll up on Wall Street and just start issuing bonds and just buying Bitcoin with it and just keep issuing bonds. I mean, maybe I should try it. I don't know if he's allowed to do it. Maybe I should just go there and be like, what up, bro? I'm going to issue $90 billion bonds today. And I'll take the $90 billion, put it into Bitcoin, and issue more bonds, and then I put it into the Bitcoin. I mean, that's what he's doing. Keep in mind, the average person doesn't have access to these credit markets. So something's odd about Michael Saylor. I don't know. Somehow connected, kind of almost in that Freemasonry mix of like the founding fathers. It's like George Washington was the first president. He seems like a cool guy. He was an amazing general. But, you look over to your right and he's laying Masonic, satanic imagery of, Mason stones in the full garb. And you're like, I'm not sure if he's one of us. I'm just throwing it out there. So there's going to be a stablecoin event. That is definitely going to happen. And that will only be used to push for more regulatory type moves by the government. And so knowing that, and this is why I always tell you guys to take profits along the way, there's going to be some kind of seismic crisis meltdown at some point. I also want you to understand, as the result of national currencies collapsing against Bitcoin, the U.S. credit markets are in a process of aggressive deleveraging. And one of the control mechanisms of the elites through that deleveraging is to restrict credit, which is what Jerome Powell is doing now with this high interest rates, which aren't even really high. And to begin cutting credit lines and making the Americans poorer where they don't have access to the credit they need, that is one way they can kind of whiplash, like the king would, King George, the colonists, right? When they started rabble-rousing, King George sent one of his generals at the time, and they got in people's faces, and they were disparaging the merchants and keeping a close eye on them and whipping them harder before the outbreak of 1776. So keep that in mind, that the government depends on that predatory inflation that they create and the money that they create freely backed by nothing, because it's not on a standard of gold or linked to silver or anything like that. So like their panic results in what? What do you do as a slave owner when the slave misbehaves? You whip his ass, right? So one way that the US government and other states can do that is by restricting credit and your ability to survive by making you poor so you'll obey. So that's going to happen as well. And there's going to be, again, massive liquidity shocks. People think I'm joking when I say it, or I'm using hyperbole, bank runs. So I tell you there's going to be bank runs in the United States because JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo are insolvent. They don't have your money. These are just facts. The FDIC is not solvent either. These are just facts. I mean, they haven't even raised the 250K limit even since the 2008, 09, and 2020 panics. It should be at least at $1 million, but it's not for a reason. Insolvency. Okay, I guess I have to say it's my opinion. I'll just say it since I'm speaking online. It's Christopher Greene's opinion. Okay, but it's a fact. These banks are bankrupt. Just like Elon Musk says, the banks are bankrupt. You're screwed. He's pissed off at Trump because, well, they're not exposing the list, and Doge and the doggy didn't save any money like he wanted, right? So here's what's happening, and here's how you can protect yourself. And we see it through what the elites are doing now. What are the elites doing? Well, they're building new banks. One of them, which the pronunciation's kind of difficult, Erebor, I think it is, with Peter T., you know, Mr. Thiel, right? The founder, along with Sam Altman, of the new reserve rights token, RSR, has established a new bank. Interesting. They're also establishing new colonies. Oh, interesting. He's got one out in Honduras. It's called Prosperous. They're helping to create new money supply. He funded Ethereum, which is the infrastructure and software of the new internet, and builds all these things like dApps. Oh, interesting. He's investing even on Wall Street into Bitmine, the Ethereum MicroStrategy, somewhat similar Tom Lee investment class. So you essentially have, this is what I want you to understand, the same things happening pre-1776 are in effect now into the technological 1776. That's why we declared our 1776 just approximately 3 years ago on July 4th, because this is not new news. This is not a new learning experience. This is not something that we didn't know. Again, Bitcoin was obvious before Bitcoin was invented. That's how far back it goes. I used to call it cyber money or cyber tech, because there was no Bitcoin. I remember even talking with my brother about it. I was like, this cyber money thing could be a real big deal. I don't think we're going to have any more banks. He's like, Chris, calm down, bro. Just have a beer. I'm like, no. There's not going to be any banking system anymore. And then someone's going to invent this currency. And then there's no need for it. Like, I'm like, and he's like, just calm down. I remember having this conversation. We're in one of our crappy apartments at the time or something. He's drinking a Pacifico, and I had one too. And I'm just like, no. I'm telling you, the banking system's going to implode. So like, this is not new. The same things happening pre-1776 are in effect now. The new founding fathers and mothers, which are you, along with extremely influential figures like Musk and the AI revolution and Grok and ChatGPT and OpenAI and Peter Thiel and Andreessen Horowitz and the hedge funds and all the big money guys and Mike Novogratz and Wall Street and Michael Saylor, the new founding fathers, they're all setting up a new infrastructure. And here's the question you have to ask. Are we just trading the old flag for a new one? Just like I said, did we just trade the British flag for the new USA one? And are we not just trading the old USA flag with the new flag, Bitcoin, etc.? So I want you to think about this, and the reason why I'm sharing this with you, because number one, I want you guys to critically think, and I want you rich, and I want you free, and I want you ahead of what the deep state and these criminals are going to do to you. And what they're going to do to you is make you poor, eliminate you, the middle class, destroy your life, enslave you, prey on you, lie to you, as they've been doing, and their, every intention, it was the same intention of King George. And it's why we built the Island Project. You see, our flag, the Island Project flag, right here, is the true revolutionary flag. This is the true 1776. This has no bank debt. It's very important for you to understand why we have no bank debt, because I already know that a bank-run crisis and a massive liquidity credit event, and I just told you that a cyber event is coming. Because we know that, my father and I designed a no bank debt portfolio for you all to protect you for that shock when it happens. And here's the beauty of it. This here profits from it as well. All Island Project members are not only in the safest legacy, physically backed investment class, diversified and decentralized in the world that pays income distributions, future income distributions, large capital gains also being tokenized, is also a no bank debt essential bank for your money. So when this old, dying, decaying, feudal, banking, fake, bankrupt, hyperinflationary, monopolistic system fails, you're safe. And that's the honest truth. Like, really, though, like that is literally the honest truth. Now, a lot of you will say, well, with this Bitcoin thing, and we'll end here, with this Bitcoin thing, and then I want you to take dramatic action and get in because we're closing the doors. Some people will say, well, Christopher, all of that kind of sounds really bad, like the empires will completely die and it's over. That's not the case. The empire is only transitioning in a transitional crisis to a new empire. Again, case in point, what is Donald Trump doing? Tariffs. Why? You never heard about tariffs before. Tariffs? Tariffs? What? What are tariffs? Have you ever heard about a tariff in your life? No, not until now. Why? Trump's trying to create revenue streams for the country. He's trying to protect the Americans' balance sheet here in America because he knows they're losing too much money to these new technologies. This is why he's setting up all of his own companies, right? So he's tariffing all the other countries to pad the bank accounts of America because he has to through the transitional crisis into the new city-state empire infrastructures. That's why he wants Canada. He wants to expand the empire. He wants Greenland. He wants an expansion of the empire. He wants all these new territories. He wants control over trade routes, the Panama Canal, and that's also why he's hammering places like Iran and through the geopolitical conflicts and stuff, et cetera. It's very important for him to shore that stuff up as well. And this is actually what I want to say too, that the MAGA faction turning on Trump, most of them are in on it, like Elon Musk. They're like in on it. It's all fake, lies. But a lot of people follow those people, and they actually don't know what I just said. You understand? They're ignorant. So they're going to follow Elon Musk, the Pied Piper, but they don't realize they've been conned. And this is all that's really going on behind closed doors. And again, the only way they're going to bring you into the new empire state, the city-state infrastructure, which will be much more distributed and decentralized, and will have competition for national currencies, et cetera, is through division, is through eradication of the middle class and wealth, through Pied Pipers collapsing the movements and defecting, like republicanism, which is what Musk is focused on. What is he going to fill that gap with? AI governance, an AI state. Even Grok is releasing the alleged list. Notice that yesterday. A technological apparatus. This is what these people want. They don't want U.S. presidents anymore. They want AI infrastructure they control single-handedly from an oligarchical, technological barbarian viewpoint that they own and control and no one else does. You have to understand this too. This is a basic truth. But notice that the revolutionaries in 1776 were motivated by wealth. That was actually their primary motivation. It wasn't necessarily just freedom, because wealth and money is freedom. Their primary motivation is when they learned that they could create their own currency, like Bitcoin has been created. They could become wealthy just like the king. King didn't like that because, of course, the king's taxing all the slaves. wants to hold them down. So notice it was the money factor that drove the 1776 firing shot. Just like today, Bitcoin, crypto, and blockchain and you getting rich is driving the 1776 firing shot. Understand that truth. It's a truth of human nature. And that's why I always tell you, it's not about the money for me. You see, I'm a real American patriot. I'm the real 1776 along with my father. We've implemented, God has, the same motivations, making you rich, self-incentivizing you to revolt. Again, it's a lot easier to convince a nation, a people, or a population to do what's in their best interest if they benefit directly, self-interested from it. Just like the colonists, just like the 13 colonies realized if they didn't have a T-tax and they didn't have the Townsend Act and they didn't have all the other taxes and tariffs and levies and excise taxes, that they also could be rich. And this is what people are figuring out with blockchain, which is why I've dedicated my entire platform to it and why about 10 or 15 years ago I promoted it, talked about it, invested in it, created entire educational platforms around it. And I keep tipping you off along the way to all these new revolutionary technologies. And now, in our greatest act and greatest revolutionary, to God be the glory, because he's given it to us, have built not just the #1 investment class in the world, making you all rich, to click the link below and get in with the buy now button because we're closing. And it's your last chance to get in as a founding father or mother and guarantee your 1000X and your success long-term and build a legacy asset for your friends and your family and your children and your grandchildren that you really care about, is that we are not just building a world-class investment class. We're building an entirely new country. Decentralized, interconnected, and the arcs everywhere around the world. Private air travel, communication networks, DeFi, lending, staking mechanisms, real estate transactions, micro real estate transactions, autonomy, freedom, sovereignty, control. All the important facets that stoked the fire to the greatest nation in world history, which was America and the United States. And so the big takeaway today is to stop focusing on the little small bean stuff. Again, man, you could spend all day today like, release the list, don't release the list, release the list, don't release the list. Alex Jones out there, he's like, what happened to Trump? Is he being strong-armed and intimidated by the deep state? I mean, the lies and the lies that they keep pushing. Oh, is Trump being sabotaged? I mean, it's just that the lies that keep coming and release the list. And Kevin Spacey's like, yeah, I'm on the list, release the list. You could spend your whole day on Elon Musk, right? And his Pied Piperness, and how we're going to put brain chips in your forehead. And, oh yeah, it's really cool. Check out this new anime figure that instead of, notice, I gotta rant on this real quick. You know how Musk always says that there's a population collapse and people should have more children? What's the first thing this guy does? He creates a highly sexualized anime figure for men in America to bed with called Grok, which is like a siren song, or if I'm saying it correctly, I think in the Bible, a succubus, which sucks your life force and sexual energy into the AI god. Think about this. This guy does the opposite of everything he says. This is why I always tell you, you always understand who's real by the fruit that they bear. What they actually do. He's like, yeah, people should have more babies, and then he invents a product that sucks the life away from men having babies. Or he'll say things like, I mean, there's so many examples of it, I don't think I even have to really rant about it. But yeah, he'll say AI, for example, is more dangerous than, artificial intelligence is more dangerous than nuclear weapons. It could destroy the entire world and Armageddon, blah, blah, blah. And then the first thing he does, invents AI that can blow up the world. Again, they're contradictions and paradoxes because they're not real. They use the fear to sell you their solution. That's all they're doing. It's very obvious how these people operate. My father and I want you at your highest self and at your highest level. We truly want you free, living your best life. Your life is so short too, man. Go big. I mean, you might as well. Why not? Why wouldn't you go big and a no downside? I have to say there are some risks, but really a no risk, no downside, no bank debt investment. When you can use property, enjoy your lifestyle, enjoy your life do big things, make massive capital gains, hang out, be connected, network with other amazing Christians. Keep in mind too, as a part of my network, you get access to information and investments you would otherwise not know about. My founders are privy to a lot of knowledge and information you're not getting publicly on this channel. I hope you know that. We take care of our members, right? Those are my boys. Those are my girls, Blue. You understand? Like, you're getting 1/10 of the potential that you could be getting if you just simply made the move. Rolled over your retirement account, your 401k, spoke with Papa John at 808-442-2934, took control of your life, and voted with your wallet. Keep in mind, the American patriots voted with their wallet, not just because it was a vote towards liberty. They wanted to get rich. So should you. Because freedom isn't necessarily money, but money is a tool that provides freedom of choice, of ownership, of assets, creates a lot of options. I mean, I'll tell you this, one benefit of being wealthy is, of course, options, choices. For example, a lot easier to resist what happened in 2020 if you've got resources. What was Sergey Brin and the rest of his friends doing, at Google during the crisis? They bailed, man. Called up the helicopter, got on the yacht, got their golden passports out, and sailed off to Bermuda where it was safe. What did Jack Dorsey do? Straight to the Seychelles Island, right? Is where he went, where there's no taxation, by the way. In fact, I think you only have to pay $10 million, which is nothing when you're a billionaire over at the Seychelles, make an investment over there. We might look at that as well. And then you basically are issued your own passport, your own sovereignty, and then there's no extradition, from what I understand. Some of that may or may not have changed, but I'm just giving you guys actual concrete facts to how the elites operate and what's going to happen next. So, at a basic level, yes, your bags will continue pumping. Yes, if you take my advice, you will continue to make a ton of money. That seems pretty obvious at this point. I probably don't need to rant about that anymore. I mean, we've proven our point not by what I've said, but by the actual result being right. For example, the Genius Act and the other acts completely passed by the House, Congress, moving through, already passed the Senate. Bitcoin has already established itself as world reserve. It's already overthrowing the dollar. The whole system has been created. Governments are now co-opting, investing, and taking ownership directly of it. So the point's already been proven. You know what's honestly great news for all of you tuning in at this point? It's become so obvious and easy now for all of you, because before, I say this a lot, the real risk investing in these technologies, and even Island Project, when we first launched 3 years ago, that was actually the moment that had some risk. Because we didn't own anything, we didn't have the physical assets yet, we weren't producing cash flows, we didn't have all the beachfront and the ski lodge mansions and the interconnected network and the 13 Jeeps, and we didn't have 400 investors, and we didn't have, debt-free investments in the most beautiful locations in the world, which are neighbors to all the bourgeoisie elites. We didn't have anything, right? We had, all of our gains in crypto and all my other businesses and things that we've worked on. And I've invested personally hundreds of millions of dollars into this vision. Because again, just like Sam Adams wasn't motivated by money. He was motivated by freedom and purpose. That's actually what makes me tick. I was out running earlier this morning and I posted something on X of me just running because I'm back in Rocky mode. Because again, when you're up huge, you go harder. Never get too comfortable. Never feel like you have an edge. No, the secret to success is you've got to be outworking your competition at all times. Because if you're not, there's always a guy like me who's outworking you in the darkness silently that will destroy you in the future. So you got to put in the work too. Again, not all this is easy, but here's what's easy for you tuning in, and it's honestly the most fantastic news to share with you all, is because this has already been built. All the equity is already there. Again, it's just math. Within 5 to 10 years, this project with no bank debt, doing nothing, just compounding at average cap gains rates and appreciation of real estate, not to mention the collapse of the dollar and the hyperinflation that's occurring all around you, and all of these new technologies, at just an extremely conservative rate of return is at least worth about 150 million. With no leverage and no debt, just expanding over time, property by property and appreciation through the cash flows. In fact, we just got a booking. Let me give you an example, specific example. We just got a booking over at Hapuna Beach, Mauna Kea. It's about a $6 million beachfront penthouse. Diamond nuts. Extraordinary. Extraordinary property. It's already appreciated. And we just had a booking for, I think, 3 weeks or something. This is an outside booking, not one of our members. My members get access to our properties as well, comped based on their tiers, another feature and advantage and service that we give to all of our members because we're awesome, man. And we created an awesome, ecosystem. But we just got a booking. It's for a couple of weeks. I think this person paid $32,000 for just a couple of weeks. So that $32,000 in cash flow goes to that property, and then at the end of the year is redistributed in the form of income distributions to our investors per the amount of units that they own. And you get a K1, and we've had a 3-year roadmap, and you get distributed it. So again, I'm pointing out, it's just math. So here's what's awesome and phenomenal and so easy for all of you tuning in because, and unfortunately, a lot of you are late to the party, and it's your last chance to act. And it really, truly is. And you're like, oh, Chris says that, but is it? No, it is your last chance to act. Get in today only. Get in now. Fill out an app at islandproject.com. The beauty is all of the equity that's already there, all the properties already built and owned outright, all of the no bank debt assets, all the income, like the $32K coming in, is already there. The equity's there. So when you invest now, and honestly, I've always told my dad, that it's almost, I'll save that for another day. But the fact that now all you have to do is that, and you just get a free key almost, a free golden key to unlock your millions, is kind of comical at this point. It's kind of a joke because there's no other opportunity in the world that's that easy, honestly. Like, think about that for a minute. Like, when you invest in a stock, you're not really sure what you're going to get. But when you invest in an island project, there's a guarantee. I'm just like, well, cool, congratulations, here's your docs, here's the key. Book your time, enjoy yourself, and, income distributions in the future and capital gains. And, oh, by the way, here are your tokens. They're worth millions. Here you go. Do you have the key? Grab the key. It's not hard. I mean, if I gave you a key to a Ferrari, wouldn't you be like, yeah, I'll take that. Just like I told you, like, would you rather have 1 to 2K in peasant UBI, or would you rather have 8.8 million compounding tax-free that you could leave to your kids after your average lifespan? I think it's a very easy option. You know what that $8.8 million option is for you? It's the key I'm giving you here at Island Project. I invented, through God, along with our team and my amazing vice president, Papa John, who I hired for a very specific reason because he's the most trustworthy, smartest man that I know, and a great mentor and a godly man. That's why I brought him on. Didn't have to do that, but I knew it was the right move. It's why my dad tells you to take my advice because he knows I'm best in the world at what I do, which is why I onboarded. You think my dad would have partnered with me if he didn't believe I was best in the world? Of course, he wouldn't want to have. He knows I'm the best, just like I know he's the best. And like and share this video. It's an important one. I mean, honestly, this is one of those, I know it's over an hour, but it really needs to be dissected and really looked out closely because I've literally given you the key. I've even told you to what's going to happen next. I'll close the video just keeping it super, super basic. You need to be taking profits now. In the majors, RSR, you should be buying more right now, right? And in these other small caps, mid caps, those are massive opportunities. Let those ride, right? I mentioned to you I bought some Trump coin too. Those are going to just freaking rocket higher through the transition. But the majors, right? That's why I've told you to take Bitcoin profits in the past, XRP profits in the past, Ethereum profits in the past. In fact, I'll just even say it publicly. There's going to be some good timing to take more off the table in Ethereum soon. And I think, once we crush, I'll give you some technicals on that. Don't be stupid, right? You got big gains, man. Take them, realize them, put them in an island project where there's a guarantee and more 1,000x opportunity and upside where it's safe. But yeah, Ethereum's at 3,400. I was watching it last night too. Once we start pushing through 3,800, past 4,000. I mean, this thing is going to be above 10,000 at some point in the future. But again, you don't know when the bull run consolidates, and then we're in another bear for a while before the 10K. And a lot of people make that mistake, then they panic, and then they don't get it back. You want to be booking these gains. My dad will tell you the same exact thing. Book the gain. Book the gain. Trust me, you'll never regret booking the gain and investing here. When the markets eventually panic and there's some kind of depeg in the stablecoin market or some kind of unforeseen event or geopolitical action or some kind of government plug pull, trust me, you'll thank me. It's not going to be up only forever. This is why we have no bank debt. So you need to be taking profits, especially in the majors. You need to be making a move here. You need to be rolling over your IRA's retirement accounts. You need to be upgrading your amount of units on our various tiers. Let me explain that to you very quickly, and then we'll close. Our tiers, for those of you that don't know, you can find this all at islandproject.com. In the projects tab, click on Park City, and you'll see we've got 4 tiers: Club at 150 units, Gold at 250 units, Platinum at 500 units, and Diamond Nuts at 1,000 units. By the way, if you want to get involved in our ski season, which is fast approaching at our Mansion Lodge over in Deer Valley, it's like worth over $7 million now. You want to take advantage of that and get some comped time. You really need to get into the project now, because not only are our doors closing, but we can't make a reservation unless you do it today. And the reason for that being is that once my members get their spots on whatever properties that we own comped, we're just that cool. Yes, mwah, you're welcome. We're the coolest people in the world. We open up about 70, 80% of the properties to the public for rentals because we're generating income for our investors. You understand that, right? And even our 30K unit members can stay at any property, contact my father, and check for availabilities. And I put out some of those availabilities on our available properties in our recent newsletter with direct links for you guys to go, and you can check dates. And then make your bookings with Papa John. But we open up the properties mostly, you know, kind of like in an Airbnb mode where we're generating those dollars, which again is only building equity into the project. That's how those numbers are achieved, you know, with, you know, cap rates, et cetera, and appreciation potential of any real estate portfolio. Even if you just own properties for yourself, you would know that, right? And another point that I want to stress is even for our 30K members, just paying 40% off the rack rate, coming and enjoying Oahu, Waikiki, Honolulu, Maui Booyah, the Kapalua Booyah, et cetera, enjoying all these great properties, you're paying 40% off what you'd pay at a hotel, which is only increasing the equity investment that you originally made of your 30 units, because those capital gains come back to you. The income comes back to you. It's a really beautiful thing that we construct, and it's really genius how we constructed the portfolio, which is why we're the best team in the world. So call my dad at 808-442-2934. Text him. He should have probably landed in his jet, I think, by now. He might be a little tired because it is a big flight from Asia, but he should be on the ground and probably returning calls, I would say, later this afternoon. And in addition to that, make sure you get your apps in and level up your units. And if you're a new onboard, fill out your 2-minute app and sign it so I get a little tickle. And then I can review it, peer review it along with myself, my father, and the rest of the team for its peer review signature with your proof of unit ownership, and then book your time and enjoy yourself. Everything I just disclosed, everything I just revealed about the massive cyber event and the new 1776 moment and the collapse of state empires and governments worldwide is the truth. Smart people know it. The billionaires know it. You know it. I know it. Profit from it. Go big, 1000x, live your best life, and do it in service and glory for the King. Get rich and be the light and the torch to the rest of the world while you still can, man. It's a short trip. Short trip, 1000x. I'll be doing some more workout videos too. Now that I'm going back into Rocky mode, had a couple injuries last year. You know, you've got to balance work, life, you know, which there really is no balance, but you know, you do need sleep, good diet, You need to be up early in the morning. You got to be pounding it out, sweating from the brow. So it felt good, man. I'm running today. There's a little overcast, a little rain coming out there. I got some sweat coming from the temple. I'm like, yeah, baby. 1000x, baby. That's right. And if you can't run, walk. If you can't walk like my brother couldn't, crawl. You freaking crawl and you scream 1000x. My brother used to do that, man. Then he had his robot leg and he's freaking just rolling around like, what up, B-I-T-C-H? I'm Cody Greene, 1000x and like his bro. So again, you don't have any disabilities. You're your self-limiting factor. You're the number one input in your life. So if you ain't thinking big and getting rich, take a look in the mirror. It's something you be doing, no one else. There's no one else to blame. There's not a government to blame. There's not a friend to blame. There's not a parent to blame. It's not your ex-girlfriend. It's not your dog that just crapped on your carpet. It's you. Put in the work and start painting new mental images of your life. For example, long before I ever owned Lambos and real estate and Jeeps, I painted that image. I'm like, yeah, you know, that's easy. I see it, hung around it, smelled those billions for a while. Oh yeah, that's what $1 billion smells like, and then it just kind of comes to you over time. And you think I'm joking, but I'm not. It really is one of the secrets to getting rich. So again, don't self-limit yourself. Get up to the plate, swing, baby, swing. Take a freaking cut. What is the worst that's gonna happen? You get into Island Project, become a multi-millionaire, live the life of your dreams, sun your balls along with me, fly around in helicopters and yachts for the rest of your life, and leave your kids a legacy investment that rolls over and gets bigger and bigger every year because we're doing tax advantage 1031 exchanges on the whole property for the rest of your freaking existence. And you're snapping shots to your friends like, what up, baby? Got a Mai Tai here with the general. Golfing out in Kapalua Booyah, sinking your hole in one. I mean, what are you freaking afraid of? You afraid of having diamond nuts? You're not afraid of that, man. So if you're feeling weak today, I always say this, cup your balls, squeeze them a little hard. Feel it in the loins a little bit. And for my ladies out there, you can do it with your ovary nuts. And feel them a little bit and go, oh yeah, I'm still alive. Yeah, still alive down there. All right. Yeah, maybe I should listen to the general. Maybe I should listen to the general. Even my wife thought it hilarious because she'll find me sometimes. I'm just out sunning my balls. This is a real thing, guys. Sun your balls, man. Your T just skyrockets. You got to get direct sunlight, God's heat, and you got to get the rays right on the nuts. And I'm telling you, I'm not joking. The T goes up. And she was laughing like a couple months ago because I guess she like read a scientific study that was actually true. And I'm like, yeah, I know, because I experimented with it, baby. So, maybe I'll even come out with like a diamond nut balm, you know, like a diamond nut lotion or something like, you know, so the nuts are glisten a little bit, take even more energy and heat into the nuts. You think I'm joking, but I'm telling you straight up, if you're feeling down, look, you can't get depressed because you can do push-ups, bro. Okay, you can't get sad and lonely because you can go for a run. Okay, you can't feel sorry for yourself because you can literally just do some body squats. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if it ain't working, give me 20. Do you understand? If you don't feel good, do some freaking crunches. Okay, if you're feeling a little down in the dumps, take your pants off and sun your freaking balls. Now, there is a difference where you're sunning your balls, and then I'll close with this. The energy coming from the Hawaiian Islands, I must say, is completely different and very consequential to the reception of the energetic level. I'm serious about this. You're not going to get the same on the mainland, probably, realistically, probably because of the chemtrails, honestly. There's more direct heat, and I've noticed the closer you are to the equator, the more lightning. So I'll leave you with this question. What motivates you? I want you to find that today with me. Find out with the general, baby. What motivates you, huh? Is it freedom, baby? Huh? You want that freedom? You want purpose, baby? You want saving from God? What is it? Find your motivation factor and plunge in with a freaking dagger into the island project like your life depends on it, because it does. Because again, when you're living in the Spirit, when you're living of God, sky's the limit. You find purpose, you find hope, and the most amazing thing, and this isn't a money thing, man, you find peace. Go to the Bible, have a little fun. None of us are perfect. I mean, even Noah, man, from time to time, right when he came off the ark, how did his sons find him? Naked and drunk. I always like that story because it reminds me when I do fall and sin and do things that I shouldn't do. I'm like, well, I guess I'm not too different. But the difference is repent. And the difference is change your action sets and attempt, and not just attempt, but be better. So that's the difference. So I hope I made you laugh too. Also, I get a lot of compliments on my shirts. I've been thinking about it. It would just be fun because people have asked, but launching an entire island project clothing line, I think would be cool. I have a very good eye for clothing, and a lot of the stuff you see, you ask me where you can buy it, you can't, because I'm actually doing it custom to what I actually like. So I think that'd actually be cool. And as usual, because we're badasses, I'll only roll it out first to our members free of charge, just like these hats. And by the way, we've got more hats in production, a lot more. I've got hundreds more being printed. So if you're new on board and you have not received one of our amazing caps, soon to probably be clothing, and one of our hefty, solid Diamond Nut Island Project mugs, we've got them in teal blue. We've got kind of like a camping one, and then we've got this one right here, and then I'll show you the black one real quick too. And then we got this black one here. I like this one. It's all kind of revolutionary, very patriotic. Fire shot 1776. 1776. You understand now? You in? You in, folks? You in islandproject.com? Are you in to 1776? Are you in? Are you in the Digital Noah's Ark? You gotta get in. You gotta get into the Digital Noah's Ark. You know who my boys are out in Texas, baby. You're my largest state. Love you all. Love you all. I have to go to Texas soon. Could be some acquisitions in Texas too, It'd be great to get some big land. Wouldn't that be dope for Island Project? We're already looking into it. Wouldn't it be great just to get some land, some big productive land, man, some hunting land, some productive cattle land. You imagine that? Just a big ass retreat for all the members. You just come out, just enjoy the weather, man, do a little fly fishing. In fact, you can do that right now. Not sure if you've heard of it. We got a mansion over in Park City, Deer Valley. Oh yeah. Go there right now. One of my favorite things to do is that fly fishing. I just put it in there, leave the cell phone behind, baby. I've almost thought one time, like, maybe I'll shoot a video here. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to. Why would I do that when I can just take this in for myself? When I got the best camera in the world that God gave me in this brain and these eyes. And just fly fish. My wife actually likes fly fishing too. She might even like them more than me. I'm like, honey, you going to get out of there? I think it's kind of cold in there. She's like, shut up, honey. Still fly fishing, right? And we go hunting, go looking for our access deer so we can feed our family, make some of that chili that we like here in Malibu, I mean, guys, the sky's the limit. I beg of you, actually. I mean, what are you waiting for? The biggest risk you can take is not taking one betting on yourself, and more importantly, not betting on God because you're scared. Every billionaire, every pro athlete, every revolutionary, every person that you admire is someone who stepped into fear and took massive risk. And because they did that, when most people hesitated, they won. Why not you? I want you. The general wants you. Call Papa John. If you're a winner, call my dad. You a winner, you a baller, you get in islandproject.com. You a 1000Xer, you DCA to the 1000X tier. You a baller, you get in. You know what I know, you execute. Okay? You want to destroy the competition? You click the freaking link. You want to build legacy wealth and enjoy and make a lifestyle investment instead of staring at worthless stocks on a computer screen or a worthless 401k and an index phone owned by BlackRock that's hosing you every year with fees because we have no annual fees? You get in. It ain't hard, folks. What's hard is changing your mindset, getting up to the plate, taking a freaking whiff. Take that freaking whiff. I played ball, baby. Division I All-American, baby. Water polo, baby. Division I. How do you think I got there? I played baseball, too. In fact, that's how my water polo coach found me. I swam a 50-yard freestyle, and I guess I was one of the fastest 50-yard freestyles he'd ever seen. I never swam before. He's like, Christopher, you know, I know you're going to be on varsity at the baseball, but if you come over with me right now, I'll make you a star. I'm like, I don't know, coach, those Speedos look a little shriveled nuts to me. He's like, Christopher, trust me on this. You'll start as a freshman. By your sophomore year, you'll be varsity starting. And by the time you're a senior, you'll be getting recruited from every major college in the world. And I'm going to make you an all-freak American, you general. I was like, hey, you know what, Coach, Mr. Ehrlich? That sounds pretty good to me. And you know who Mr. Ehrlich is today? Went to later on coach world-class team over at the Naval Academy. And by the way, Air Force Academy. And by the way, one of the greatest men I ever knew. There was something in common with that Ehrlich, too. You know what he was? Although I didn't really know it at the time, because I was just a young kid. He's a godly man. Christian. Christians are winners. We're the Christian billionaire baller class here at islandproject.com. And just like Ehrlich came to me and said, hey, Chris, I'm going to make you a winner. I'm coming to you right now as a general telling, hey, you tuning in. Yeah, you behind that screen right there on your cell phone or your laptop or your television set, you get in. I'm going to make you a winner. You understand? You want to go big? You want to be an All-American? You want to declare 1776? You want to get rich? You want to make a lifestyle investment, improve and change your life for the better? You want to be the example for your friends and family? You want to grow some freaking diamond nuts or diamond ovaries? Get in. I'm making you a freaking winner. And the beauty of it, we already have for all of our existing members. Papa John, I love you. Call my dad, 808-442-2934. That's 808-442-2934. See our terms and disclaimers. I'm not a financial advisor because this isn't advice for poor people. This is advice for people that want to make it, that want to break free from the matrix and the chains and want to do something powerful and live a purpose-filled, faith-filled, God-filled, peaceful life for their children and their grandchildren and themselves. I love you. God bless.